I just can't believe that something like this has got me out of the mire I was in. It's great. I just feel as though at long last everything's going really good with Mickle therapy. I'm so pleased I came across it. Came across you.
That's really fantastic. So if you take yourself back to before December, how was your life?
In a tangle. My life wasn't good. I was depressed. I didn't know whether I wanted to be here where I'm retired to. I wanted to go back home, and I haven't got any of that worrying now. My life wasn't good. From when I came down here, it wasn't good.
So your life wasn't good. You weren't enjoying your life. And as far as your health, how was your health?
My health is better, but it wasn't good before.
Yeah, that's what I mean. How was it back then?
It wasn't good because I was very, very depressed, and when you're depressed, all sorts of things seem to happen, and I didn't feel, and I wasn't well. I'd had a lot of things going wrong, and I'm quite different now. And I can look at things differently altogether. I don't feel down about things now.
So that's fantastic progress. So was depression the main symptom that you had, or did you have other symptoms?
Oh no, I had no, I was totally exhausted, and this sleepiness thing that seems to go with it. Could not wake up in the mornings, absolutely hopeless. Couldn't, and when I wouldn't wake up and I needed to, say, have a drink from the side table, I didn't have the energy to lift my arm up to get the glass, all this sort of thing, which I haven't got now, which is amazing. I never ever thought I would get over that because I had it for so long. Just came out of the blue. Well, it came after an illness.
So how many years was that you were experiencing that?
Well, I've been down here probably 25 years. But I have depression, Kim, on and off since I had my first child, because I think I told you everything seemed to go.
Yeah, we talked about that another time, and we looked at the real causes and what set it all up, and yeah. that was really good, helpful, to really identify that. So in the space of 6 months, your life has really, sounds like it's really changed quite considerably.
It's getting right back into to be really good.
Yeah, you even look really different from when we had our session, which was about 3 months ago. You look very different.
Thank you.
You look a lot more alive.
Well, I wasn't alive, Kim. I was very, very down, very flat. And I'm not like that now.
So I'm still intrigued, and I know that people listening will be intrigued, who are going to listen to this later, as to, you say that it's the keys, which is our signature technique, as we know. You say that the keys and the 5 steps technique, has been the most helpful. And we know that the keys are about putting ourselves first, communicating how we feel, and stopping people treating us unfairly if that's applicable.
Yes.
So can you give me some tangible examples of how you've actually done that in your life? How have you tangibly been putting yourself first, for example? What changes have you made? Because we know in Mickle therapy, it's all about the change. We have to take action. If there's no action and no change, then there is no change, in what we're experiencing. So what changes have you made in your life that have created this difference for you?
Well, living in a place like I am, a retirement village, there's a lot going on, a lot of invitations, and a lot of people you meet and a lot of people used to ask me to go to things out of the blue when I felt terrible, and I used to go. I used to think, oh, well, I suppose I better go. But now I just don't. If I don't feel good, I just say, no, I'm sorry, I can't go today. And I've learned to do that, whereas I wouldn't do that before. I would go and stick it out.
So one of the things that you started doing is you started saying no, and which means you've started using one of the keys and you've started putting yourself first, which
Yes.
is great. And then, so out of interest, what primary emotions did you discover your body was sending you when you weren't saying no? In other words, when you were saying yes to everybody?
When I was saying yes to everybody, I was very unhappy about it all because it's not what I wanted to do at all. When I'm saying no, they don't seem to be offended or anything like that. Everything still seems to be all right.
When you were talking before about, you had the fatigue for 25 years, like if you had to rate that fatigue out of 10 and 0 was no fatigue and 10 was maximum, what would you have rated it?
10.
Wow.
I'm afraid it was 10.
Wow.
Because even though I dragged myself out of bed, I would just sit in a chair and go to sleep again.
Yeah.
My whole day was wasted. I just could not wake up.
And I remember when we spoke, the first time that we spoke, wow, I mean, you are a different person now, because you were feeling so dreadful, but also you were very depressed, and also you were very negative. Your mind was so, I don't mean that rudely, but it was because, everything felt so bad. It was just like everything was just doomsday.
That's right.
And now it's really not. And so if you had to rate now the level of fatigue, what would you rate it out of 10?
About 2.
That's fantastic. Oh, makes my heart sing. It makes my heart sing.
Thanks, Kim.
Oh, that's just so amazing.
Well,
I'm so happy for you.
I never thought I would ever get rid of it. It went on for so long and I couldn't make out why.
That's fantastic. So what's really interesting with depression, as we know in mycotherapy, is that depression is depressing emotions.
Yes.
So what emotions had you spent years depressing?
I always felt as though I wasn't good enough for anything.
Yeah.
No confidence.
Yeah. So not feeling good enough. Sorry, go on.
My mother used to say, for goodness sake, stop apologising for existence. So she knew I was like that.
Yeah. So when we don't feel good enough, that's about self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence. And then the opposite of that is like, then we have all the self-doubt. We don't trust ourselves. We worry. We have anxiety, because we're going to have one or the other. And that also brings with it a lot of frustration, because deep within we know that we don't want to be experiencing that. And as we know, the primary emotions in mycotherapy are things like frustration, sadness, hurt, boredom, loneliness. So these are all the emotions and the thing with depression is that we don't just depress or depress the uncomfortable, unhappy emotions. We depress the good ones too. We depress the joy and the happiness, and everything just gets put in the pot with a lid on it, and we experience depression. So obviously you've taken that lid off using the mycotherapy tools, and you've started to allow some of that steam to come out, and some of that emotional energy to dissipate, which is why it's not weighing you down so much anymore.
Well, I feel different altogether, Kim. I feel light instead of heavy.
Yeah, but that's because you've just let go of some stuff. Yeah, and this is just why it's so important. And you, as you say, one of the things that you've been really doing well by the sounds of it, and that's in our, the section on emotional mindfulness on the course, is that you've been really tuning into how do I feel. You've been actively asking yourself, how do I feel? And then if necessary, doing something about it and communicating it and sharing it with your son, and just being authentic, right? It's all about being authentic.
I've sort of realised that I am worth looking after all.
Great.
Whereas I just thought I was just anybody, anything.
Or maybe you thought you were a nothing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you are somebody and you are worthy. So that all comes back to this self-worth issue. And if you remember, we did have that session a couple of months, I don't know, is it maybe about 3 months ago? How did you find that helped?
Oh, yes, that was good.
You've obviously made fantastic progress. So you went from a 10 out of 10 exhaustion to a 2 out of 10 tiredness now. And what was the depression? If you had to rate the depression before you started Mikkel therapy, if you had to rate depression out of 10, 0 is no depression, 10 is maximum, what would you have given it?
Before I started, up 8, 9, 10, close to 10.
Right. And what is it now?
Oh, next to nothing.
Wow. So that's fantastic. So in 6 months, you've massively reduced exhaustion and depression. And you're feeling so much better, so much more hopeful, so much more optimistic. And this is what I love. It's about moving from pessimism to optimism. And eventually that optimism becoming the norm. So you've made this massive progress. And do you feel like there's anything else that needs to be looked at or worked through or worked on or addressed?
Well, Kim, you mentioned optimistic, and that's one of the big things. Because like you, I was always expecting the worst, and I was never game to look forward to things because I thought something will come unstuck or it won't happen or something terrible will happen. I'm not like that now. No, I don't think there's a lot that I have to improve or you have to improve.
Well, I have to tell you, I think you have done so amazingly well. And am I allowed to say your age, Phil?
Yes.
Yeah, 80, was it 87? 88. Yeah, I thought you might have had a birthday. Yeah. What I'm so in admiration of, and I said this to you when we first started, was your age, that somebody, of your age, without, sounding rude or disrespectful, still, well, actually it's a real compliment, is that you still were looking for solutions and you weren't giving up. And that is just absolutely amazing, because there must be so many people, in the 80s, 70s, 60s even, who have given up. And the fact that you never gave up, that to me is just phenomenal. And it just proves to me that it's never too late. Prior to working with you, the eldest lady that I worked with was 75, and she had fantastic results as well. She had really bad fibromyalgia, and within 2 months she was just about completely better. So it just shows that it's never ever too late.
Kim, I felt so terrible, and I had tried so many things. I was desperate. I thought, I'm not going to put up with this, no matter if I've only got a few years to live. I'm not putting up with this any longer.
Right. So, well, there's a key there. There's a key there, is that decision. I'm not putting up with it any longer. That is a major, major important decision that people such as yourself, and I had exactly the same thing myself. And I'm writing my book at the moment, and it's in the, and I will give you a copy of that, Phil, when it comes out.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it was the decision that I made and the decision that you made, that we were going to get better. We were not going to put up with this. And that is a turning point. That is a turning point in recovery. And it is so important, because until people have that real determination inside that they're gonna win this battle in a way, nothing really changes. Because when we make that decision, we decide that we're going to do whatever it takes, and then the universe starts to bring us the solutions and the answers. It just does. And the other thing that I think is really amazing, Phil, about your recovery is that we only had one session. You have done this from the program, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
You've done this just from going through the program, and you weren't even on many of the Q&A calls, you know, for the chatting, you know, being able to chat on those. So that really is absolutely phenomenal. That is phenomenal.
Thank you. Well, when you're desperate, Kim, as you know, you will try anything. And
Yeah, and you obviously must have put 100% into it.
well, I've tried to, because I thought, this is it. If this doesn't get me right, well, I'll die with it.
Well, that's just absolutely brilliant, and it just makes me tingle. I have goosebumps, and I'm really, really happy for you.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
I'm happy too, Kim.
So, and also thank you for sharing this, because you're going to inspire, you know, so many other people. I mean, nobody has an excuse to give up, do they, now?
Well, you know how you feel. I thought, well, I don't care if I haven't only got a few years left. I'm not going to feel like this.
Yeah, and that is the turning point. That was such an important decision, because that really, it literally, there's a switch that goes on inside when we come to that point. It is a life-changing moment when we make a decision like that.
Thank you, Kim.
So, well
Yeah.
done. Well done.
Thank you so much for everything, all your help and everything you've done for us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
Yes, hope so. Hope
Yeah.
so.